All right, we're good to start. Everyone has a satiation taking place in the. Okay, yeah, the capacity is around. Boker Tov, everyone. Good Yantiv, good Chanukah, Chodesh Tov. There's so much to talk about, and I'm going to try to keep it mamash as meduyak as possible. Well, first of all, I want to thank all our sponsors for this morning. I want to thank Rabbi Yosef. Thank you so much. I want to thank Yitzchak Meir in honor of his birthday. Yitzchak Meir's birthday. I want to thank an anonymous donor that gave, I can send out the vort for it, that gave $32 plus $32.10, I think. No one's interested in knowing what's up with that? I'll send out the vort. I'll send out the vort later.
10 cents.
Huh?
And 10 cents.
Yeah. And sponsors for the month of Tevet. This keeps on getting to my heart in such every week. The Kehillah is sponsoring more and more learning. So the month of Tevet, Shachar and Alex Avram for Refuah Shlema for David Pinchas ben Mendel Sarah. For this week, Yael and Jeremy Rosenbaum in memory of Scott Minard. I think that was JJ's boss, who's just nifter. Anonymously, in honor of the community, may we be blessed to continue growing in Torah, learning, and Ahavas Yisrael to draw more and more of Hashem's light into the world. Some people named Reinitz, Yuri, and Michal, in honor of our children's birthdays. Liora was yesterday, and Gilad, which is later this week. And anonymous for the Refuah Shlema of Eitan Yisrael ben Anael Josephine. We're all with him. And today specifically, the shir is in memory of Miriam Dvorah Bat Zvi Hirsch by Yael and Jeremy Rosenbaum. Okay. The heart is filled with Chanukah. The heart is filled with light. It's filled with a lot of precious moments, a lot of precious hallels, a lot of precious candlelighting, and so much. But obviously, last night was a game changer for Am Yisrael with the Petira of one of the greatest of our Dor, which is Rav Chaim Drukman, Zecher Tzadok Kodesh Livracha, who I had the privilege of being with a number of times. I'm sure many of you have. Did you ever film him? You didn't film him? He was larger than life, and he didn't hold of himself nothing. I've met him the first time when I think I was 13 or 14. He came to my high school. And if you remember what someone, if you're 13 or 14 and someone comes to give a shir klali in your high school, and you remember it, it means it had a reshima on you. And I remember, it was honestly, I don't remember any shir from her, not one. Meaning, I don't even remember what Gemaras we learned. I'm so embarrassed to say, I don't remember. Besides one, but that was before high school, that was the first Gemara we learned, so it was all new. It was in Kita Zayin, in 7th grade, we learned Ha'ish Mekadesh, Perek Sheni in Kiddushin. Besides, I don't remember shiurim in high school. I remember Mamashim coming. I remember him walking into the Beis Midrash. I remember him being so lo machzik ma'atzmo, so humble. And also, not trying to impress. You know how he dressed, right? He barely wore a jacket. It was basically, looked like a normal yeshiva. Also, Lilu and Nishmato, I'm waiting for the funeral details. I don't know if anyone got them.
12 o'clock in
Yisot Yitzchak. Okay, we'll say that. So today we're going to be learning, it's already late. Baruch Hashem was a beautiful bar mitzvah and hallel and so much. But I wanted to read for you a few lines that my dear friend, Rav Raz Hartman, shared last year about Zos Chanukah, about this eighth day of Chanukah. He said like this. He said there's a moment that each person that lights candles has to be caught by, I'm just translating this from Hebrew. There's a moment that each person that lights candles has to be immersed in. And that's that moment when the candle refuses to catch fire. Who thinks about that, right? This is what you have in front of you is a pre-tzaddik. We're going to do it in a second. This is just something else that I'm reading. It's the moment that the candle, you're trying to get it lit, but it doesn't. or when the match that you strike blows out before you get to light the candle. He says you could give a certain name to that whole avoda, and in Breslov it's a very strong name called meniot. That means things that are stumbling blocks. And he said, this is last year, he said, Zos Chanukah was like that in his house. Even though the stumbling blocks were small, one of the wicks sunk into the oil before it could be used. There was a candle, it just would not catch fire. Some extra oil spilled all over the place, but still, a bit, he said, he's writing this at like Nate's, before Nate's, he's like, right before Nate's, there's still one candle that's still lit. And he says, Reb Levi Yitzchak Bender, one of the great leaders of Breslov, we've mentioned his name before many times. He says, you could summarize all of Torah's Breslov with one word. What's that one? What do you think that one word would be? There's one word, he says, you could summarize all of Torah's Breslov. Ratzon. These are good things. What else? It's basically based on what I just said. Huh?
Oh, basically.
Semcha, definitely. I'm looking more to, I mean, he's going to guide us more to, well, more like that, yeah, because he's saying, right. Well, let's go with what that one word would be, if he, right? Close. He says, this is the midah that Reb Nachman said that Mashiach is going to come and teach the whole world. Remember what the midah is? Close. Very close. Closer to what you said. Savlanut. Savlanut. In modern Hebrew, there's a hand gesture that makes you lose all savlanut.
Often comes with it.
And when they're together, murder. Savlanut. How much savlanut you need, he says, with candlelighting. Candlelighting means with chinuch, with learning, with shining Hashem light in the world. And every hardship that people go, when you try to do something good, when you try to do something good and holy, and it doesn't go right away. He said the savlanut that one needs for that, Chanukah, the light of Chanukah, Zot Chanukah, is a day that brings down this tremendous ability to have that savlanut, because it's now the end of Chanukah. Whatever wasn't lit ended up becoming lit. Whatever wasn't is. And now we can maybe tune into the famous statement that the Rishner Rebbe said. Everyone quotes it on Chanukah, but I love when people quote it, and they also end off by saying, and I have no idea what this means, but it's a great vort, where the Rishner Rebbe says, Rabbi Yisrael Rishon says, that the place a person can reach on Zos Chanukah, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Shmini Atzeres, Hashanah Rabbah, Simchas Torah don't even reach that way. So let's try to understand. Let's try to understand a little bit. So what does that mean? What does that mean? What are we capable? What is today about? So that's why I wanted to start with his words from last year, because I was going over it yesterday. And it's like he could have been writing it about my Hanukkah this year. Everyone keeps on asking me, how's your Hanukkah? How's Hanukkah? How's Hanukkah? Happy birthday. Everyone's saying, how's how is it? And v'chulei. And it's true, like you want to say, oh man, it was so beautiful. But how many candles didn't light right away? Right? How many ptilim fell into the shemen, right? A lot of them. So what is the pnimius of this day? That's what I wanted to talk about. And try to understand it based on what the Rishner Rebbe said, when he said that the place that a person can reach today is even higher than all the Yom Tovim. And that's why Hasidim wish each other Gemar Chasim Tova on Zos Chanukah, because they say today is Be'emes when it's all sealed, sent, all good, all done, all packaged, go out into the world. So there's this piece in Pri Tzadik, a gorgeous piece, not too hard. But Tzadok Hakohen of Lublin, I feel like it's very special too. I'm learning now with the women's shir on Thursday mornings, we're learning Reb Tzadok. And this week is Reb Tzadok's Rebbe's Yortzeit. It's the Ishbitz's Yortzeit. I think it's this Shabbos. Right? Yeah, so this Shabbos is going to be a big Shilach Shabbos, full on Ishbitz. But to learn from his Talmud, Reb Tzadok is always very, very special. So let's go inside. This is so beautiful to learn this on such a beautiful morning here in Eretz HaKodesh. This is pre-Tzadok, Reb Tzadok Svarim on Chamishi Chumshei Torah. He has also on the Moadim there. This one? Yeah, that's it. Yitzhak Meir, you have a copy? Let's get him a copy. Yeah, he's a sponsor. Okay. Kacha. Ches de Chanukah, Korin Zos Chanukah. We call this day Zos Chanukah. Can someone tell me where they saw in the Torah that this day is called Zos Chanukah? Ve'af shelo niskar shem ze barishonim. Forget the Torah. Even in the Rishonim, there's no mention of this holiday. When did this holiday become Zos Chanukah? What era did this become a day a day that's coined with this name? No, it's before, but he wouldn't be a Rishon. He's later.
No,
yeah. But there's no makor for this. What's that?
It was in the Leah.
So we're gonna see. Well, but that's still not like by Ubayom Hashmini leChag HaChanukah Tikreu Zos Chanukah. Doesn't have that name, right? Kevan shenikra ken b'fi rov Yisrael. But since the Tzadok says this is called like this, in the by most of Am Yisrael, bevadai yesh lo makom b'divrei Torah. But since this has already become established that this day is Zos Chanukah, it has a place as if it's part of Divrei Torah. V'gdula mizo matzinu shezachru b'Gemara. It's brought down in the Gemara. Hainu da'amru inche v'nasa mizeh Divrei Torah b'shas. Quite often in the Gemara, someone will bring a quote from someone and say, the amre inche. People said so. Thanks again for the help, guys. Bemet. Hainu the amre inche. People said. In the Gemara, people came and people said something. V'nasa mizeh divrei Torah b'shas. And based on what people said and the way people started talking, this became like a Dvar Torah. This became words of Torah. This became something established in the Torah. Whenever you learn the Shas, you see Hainu the amre inche. Like people say. The Shoresh Hashem, so like you were saying, Nasan, the Shoresh Hashem, who Hashem shekorim bo parshas Zos Chanukah Samizbeach. So we said this morning in laning. Yechiel, you laned it, right? Yeah, you were laning Zos Chanukah Samizbeach. Oh, I saw your message. He wasn't a Kohen.
That's why I went to
Yeah. We read Parshas Zos Chanukah Samizbeach. This is the Chanukah of the Mizbeach. Umistama yesh leze shaychus lekedushas hayom. So it must be that the dedication of the altar, which is what we read about this morning, is shaykh to this day, Zos Chanukah. Because what else are you going to say, right? If we laned it this morning, even though it doesn't seem like it's talking about Chanukah, it's talking about the Chanukah Samizbeach. But since these are the words that we're using, it must be shayach one to the other, right? So what is Reb Tzadok saying? Saying, let's try to understand what the shayachis of the Kriyas Torah that we did today is to this name that was established, right? Like certain things here have names. How did it become something? Like there's a place here called Park Reinitz.
Uh-huh.
How did it become called Park Reinitz?
Because
Kida Amri Inche. Hainu Kida Amri Inche. Because people saw there's a park ranger who takes care of everything here, right, Yuri? And that's a park in the vicinity of where he used to live. So now it's already known, it's become Park Reinitz, right? But this is the same Inyan. He's saying about Zos Chanukah, but who established this? Who said so? So the closest we have to understand this on the surface is the Kriyas Torah of this day. But look what he says here. In the height of the what was called the pandemic, we learned, it was like we couldn't be with each other at all, but Zos Chanukah, we said, forget it, we have to be together, and the Chevra came to my garden, I remember, and we did davening out there, and we learned a piece from Rav Biederman, who kept on saying that when you can point at something and say this is so, you establish it to be for real. To be for real. For instance, in Kriyas Yamsuf, we said Zei Keli Vanveo, and the Gemara says that each person pointed at Elokut, at godliness, and it was so clear to them that Hashem existed, so clear to them, there was a moment of such revelation. So Zos Chanukah is a day of saying something about, it's crystal clear to me that something here is going on. What is going on? What is clear to me on Zos Chanukah? והיינו שכבר אמרנו, שתיבס זוז מורה על דבר המפורש לעין, שיוכל להרוס באצבעו, like we just said, וכמו לשון זה, בלשון זכר. Zot and zet, like the same thing, right? This. And he's going to bring here a few examples. When you can point on something and say, this is it, right? Think about it in your life. When was the last time you could point at something and mamish say, like, this is for me. This is it. The what?
Landing this morning.
The Aliyah Torah. Shedarshu b'Megillah, it's brought down in Megillah, in Masechet Megillah, Tedvav Amud Beis, famous pasuk from Megillah Esther. V'chol zeh eineno shoveli. None of this is worth anything to me. Who says this? Haman. And what reference? In what reference does Haman say that? Huh? Mordechai wouldn't bow to them. So what wasn't? What? Anything. Everything Achashverosh would give him. Anything he accumulated and established, but kol zeh eineno shoveli. This isn't worth anything for me, right? Melamed shekol gnazav shel osa rasha chakukin lo alibo. That zeh, he carried all his wealth, everything that he has attained and accumulated, he carried it on his heart, and none of it was worth it. Dikshu chakuk alibo hu kimefurash la'ayin. When something is engraved in your heart, it's like it can be seen with your eye. Like pointing. So it's not just for bad things. It's also for good things. We say about Aaron Hakohen that he comes into the Kodesh bezos, with this, right? And that was the piece we did from Rav Biederman a few years ago. That Aaron Hakohen comes into the Kodesh with all the shining light of Hanukkah. Bezos yavo Aaron el Kodesh, right? Someone sent me a video last night of being by Rav Kluger. Rav Kluger's candlelighting. He wrote me, bezos avo el Kodesh. This is how I'm coming into the Kodesh. Bezos yavo Aaron. And we also say B'schus Shabbos, Ashrei enosh yaseh zos. Praiseworthy is the person that does this. ובן אדם יחזיק בה, שומר שבס מחלל לו, ושומר ידו מעשוס כל רע. שקדושת השבס שחקוקה בלב ישראל, הוא כאור מפורש לעין, שיוכל להרוס באצבע ונקרא זוס. Anything, like the Kedusha of Shabbos, a Yid has to reach a place that you can point and say, this is my Shabbos. This is me. Like, did you ever have that moment in Shabbos where you could say, this is where I belong? This is my home. I'm not even talking about a shul, I'm talking about a feeling. This is where the real me comes out. This is mine. So we could do that by Shabbos, saying like the word of zeh or zot. This is mamish it. V'chen v'zot HaTorah. We also say v'zot HaTorah. We literally point with our fingers. V'zos HaTorah. She'atorah orhu. V'hu or mefura she'yochol laharos be'etzba. So he brought here a few examples of things that you could point at and say, this is mamish what it is. This is really what it is. So we had Shabbos, we have the Torah. We also have, when it comes to the Aaron Hakohen, bezos yavo Aaron. And he also brought from the flip side, v'chol zeh eineno shoveli. When I pointed all these things that I, also on the bad side, I said, if I could point at something and I could detect it, that means it's clear to me that I know what I'm talking about. Like if someone can say to you, if you could say to someone, I'm a Yid, this is my Yiddishkeit, right? That's a very high level. This is me. This is the real me. Like when I'm davening, I could point at myself and say, Ze ani. Can you imagine that? While you're davening, pointing at yourself and saying, Ze ani. Or at the Shabbos table, on a Shabbos where things are flying ways that you enjoy. And like, bless you, say, Ze mishpachti. Now, you're not supposed to point at people, obviously, right? But figuratively speaking, saying, Ze mishpachti. This is my family.
What about when you say it when you're not even feeling it, when it's not flowing?
Then it's not a real Ze.
Really?
That's what he's saying. He's saying you can only say Ze or Zot when it's chakuk, when it's engraved inside you. And when something's engraved inside of you, then even when it's not flowing, it doesn't mashpia on you. the way that something that's not flowing inside of you would mashpia on you. And it continues. V'chem bevirkas Yaakov, Avinu alav shalom, ktiv, and we're going to see this soon. V'zot asher diber lahem avihim. By the way, remember, we're trying to get, the question of the shir is, what does the day of Zot resemble on Zot Chanukah? What is so clear on Zot Chanukah? Okay, that's the shir. That's the question of the shir. What is so clear on Zot Chanukah? And I know this is different than what we're used to learning. Reb Tzadok is lamdus. It's not voitlach. You have to actually, use a little bit of a Gemara cup to understand his mahalach. But I said the word Gemara cup and no one ran out of here, so we're doing good. V'chem bevirkas Yaakov Avinu alav shalom ksiv v'zos asher diber lahem avihim. This is what their father told them. Vayivarach osam ish asher kebirkoso berach osam. And he blessed them, each in accordance to the bracha that he blessed them. Reb Tzadok says, Shekulo nira miyusa, shekvar niskar shebirach osam. Why do you have to repeat that Yaakov Avinu did all these blessings? That he blessed them each accordingly? It already went through each person's bracha. Why are you repeating here that he blessed each one in accordance with what their bracha is? Ach me'achar dichsiv ish asher kebirkoso berach osam. But since it says, each person in according to the bracha that he blessed them, lelamed, third line, shekalal lekol hashvatim, shekulam klulim bechol habrachos shel kol shevet v'shevet. This is the kicker. Every shevet, every tribe was included in the brachas of every other tribe. That's why it was repeated here that he blessed them. Who did he bless? He blessed them, the klal, each in accordance to what each shevet got. So when we look at, like, for instance, we say, what did Yehuda get? So it's just the easiest one. What bracha did Yehuda get on Yaakov Avinu's deathbed? Malchus. 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 Yehuda ata yoducha achecha. Malchus, right? So we could come out of Parshas Veichi and be like, oh wow, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yisachar, Zvulun, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Yosef, Binyamin are all nebuchs. Only Yehuda's a melech. No, because this pasuk comes to teach us that each of them got a little bit of a taste of the bracha that each shevet got. Lelamed lekol hashvatim shekulam klulim b'chol habrachos shekol shevet v'shevet kmo shepirish Rashi me'amedrash lachen ksiv vezos. That's why it says over here vezos. It uses the same word this when it refers to Yaakov Avinu giving every shevet a taste of every other shevet's bracha. She'akdusha mikol shevet haya mefurash v'chakuk balev. That the holiness from each tribe was clear and engraved in each person's heart from all the brothers, all the shvatim. She'itachen leshon zos shehu mefurash sheyuchal leharos be'etzba lehoros she'al yidei shem klulim kulam b'kedushas Yaakov kolul kol echad b'kedushas kol hashvatim. To teach us that because they're all gathered, they're all included with the kedusha of Yaakov Avinu. If you're connected to Yaakov Avinu, it means you're connected to everything that was precious to Yaakov Avinu. Reb Shlomo has a Torah that explains this so beautifully. If you want to be connected, if you want to love me, if you want to be connected to me, you have to love what I love. You have to be connected to what I love. I think a great way, you could tell me if you've seen this in your own life. If you didn't see a friend in a long time, and they don't ask you to see pictures of your children, it means it's not really that strong. Because if it's a real friendship, if it's something really, really deep in your heart, then the friend wants to be connected to what occupies most of your heart. Now, if it doesn't bother you that they don't ask you to see any pictures of your children, then it's a little bit of a problem with you, right? But Reb Shlomo taught this basically in the context of the Meraglim. He said that Hashem agreed for Moshe Rabbeinu to send out Meraglim only because he thought they wanted to just get a whiff and a taste of what was so precious in Hashem's eyes. Not a scouting report to see how to conquer. It was basically, he felt, well, they're going to want to see what's precious to me. So here, Reb Tzadok is saying that if you think you got blessed by Yaakov Avinu and you're close to the bracha that he gave you, it's only if you feel connected to all the other brachas that Yaakov Avinu gave as well. Because if not, you're not kosher. And that's why by Rebbes, by Hasidim, when you see the achva amongst the Hasidim and the iskashrus to the Rebbe, it's the same thing. Right? Can you imagine a Chassid saying, I don't really feel close to any other Hasidim, but I feel close to my Rebbe? There's something wrong with that too. Because the Rebbe is so connected to all of the Hasidim. So therefore, it goes hand in hand. I have a very dear friend, some of you may know, he's a big Rav, that for years his pilgrimages to Uman and the crying on the Tzion was over the fact that he doesn't feel connected to any Breslover. And it pained him in the deepest depths. And I was with him one time, I couldn't believe it. One time I was with him in Uman, and he cried the whole time I saw him. It was literally like a marble of tears, and it was all over this Nakuda, saying, I know I feel so connected to this tzaddik, but am I really connected to him if I feel so disconnected from all of the Breslover Hasidim? So something's not there. So the same thing is going on over here. Now this level of feeling connected to all the other Shvatim was on the level of Zos. Meaning, Yaakov Avinu set them up on his deathbed. Not that each Shevet knew exactly what they were all about, but the way that they knew what they were all about is because they felt so connected to each other. That's how they knew that was the extent of their connection to Yaakov Avinu. Just by saying, oh my God, receiving these brachas from you is so special, but what you really did, Yaakov Avinu, is that you linked us up. Remember what Reb Nachman and Reb Nassim both told their chevra on their deathbeds. Same lashon. Hachziku atzmechem yachad. The only way you're going to get through anything, hold yourselves to be close and to be together. It's not going to happen any other way. Okay.
I love how this ties into what you brought in here in the soul of Hanukkah, the last Torah from Shlomo on Hanukkah. There is that the difference between Zeh and Zos. Zeh is Hashem's kedusha, and Zos is the Yidden's kedusha, and it fits perfectly with Zos. Shakadusha mikol shevet.
That's our kedusha. Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm so glad you reminded me.
Zos is Yidden's kedusha, and Zeh is Hashem's.
I have to do chazara. Thank you. Like someone sent me, Yaakov Klein sent me he's like, I just did a see him again on the Sefer yesterday. He said,
nice.
No, this is good. It gives me a lot of chizuk. Okay, it should open and we should walk through them. Okay. Lahoros she'al yedei shem klulim kulam kedushas Yaakov kalu kol echa b'kedushas kol hashvatim. Okay. V'chen inyan korban. Now he says what we just said right now. Yechiel, you'll relate to this very strong. V'chen inyan korbanos hanesim. Did you pay attention to the laning over Hanukkah? Were there any big thrills up until like Shlishi of today? Very interesting, especially when you read it in Parshas Nasa. When he comes to the korbanot that each Nasi brought, shenidrash kavanos al korbanos shel kol echad ma'korbanos biyichud, haynu shekol echad min hanesim hayalo kavana miyuchedes bekorbaноsav. Each Nasi had a special kavana with the korban that they brought. But when you read what the korban is that they brought, do you see any differences between them?
No.
It's the same korban.
I can tell you the trup's slightly different, unlike the first 2 days. But
The trup, but the words.
That's the very beginning. That's before the korbanot. Once you get into the korbanot, it's all the same. Yeah.
He says over here, each nasi that brought a korban had a different kavana, even though each tribe brought the same korban. The imlokin, third line, lama kafal hakasuv lefaret bechol echad ma'korbanos. If they didn't have different kavanas, why would the Torah go out of its way to repeat the whole thing again? This is what the korban is. This is how he brought it. Haveli lichtov. What should have it said? It should have said, V'chen hikriv nasi ploni b'yom ploni. Should have said, this nasi brought this on this day. Kevan shekulam ikrivu mispar echad. Each of them brought the same korban. Afal pichen Afal ken she'ein kavanaso shel zeh doma lezeh. So it must be that each nasi had a different kavana with the korban that they brought. V'chein kasav medrash Rabbah אף על פי שקורבן שווה הקריבו כולם על דברים גדולים הקריבו. וכל אחד ואחד הקריב לפי דעתו. והיינו שכל אחד היה לו כוונה מיוחדת לפי קדושת שבטו. Just like Yaakov Avinu gave different brachas to each tribe, whenever each nasi of a tribe came and brought a korban, they had with them the kavana that Yaakov Avinu put into the DNA of each shevet. And that's how they came and brought their korban. And that's why we have to keep on going through all the details of each korban, even though it's exactly the same every single day. But each of them came with their geschmack, with their reach nichoyach. Uksiv, sof korbanos kulam, and then at the end of all the korbanos, what does it say? Zos Chanukah samizbeach. At the end it says this. This is the Chanukah of the Mizbeach. This is the dedication of the altar. The kalal mispal kol korbanot, and again it included all the korbanot. And again the question is lichora. Lama hutzrach hakatuv lemanotam. Why does the Kosev have to count this? Umatzmeinu nuchal leda mispar kulam. We could know this by our own. Why does the Torah have to tell us again how many brought? We could figure this out by ourselves. ועל כן השמיענו הכסף בזה, שנכלל כל אחד מהנשיאים מקדושת כל י' בייס השבטים, וכוונת קורבנותיהם. So Reb Tzadok says a gewalt. When the Torah repeats again how many brought, it's to tell us not who brought what. You know what each person brought. But it's to tell you that even though each shevet had their own kavanah, but when it says Zos Chanukah Samizbeach, that means that each shevet had a shtickle of every other shevet's kavanah with the bringing of the korban. Just like with the brachas by Yaakov Avinu. Same exact thing. V'chein kasav b'midrash rabbah, elahela aleim ki'ilu kulam hikrivu b'yom rishon, u'ki'ilu hikrivu b'yom achron. The Torah comes out of its way to say, don't think that when Shevet Ruvain came in, their nasi came and brought, that everyone else was bored. That all the other shvatim didn't do anything that day.
L'man kol Yisrael.
Mother?
L'man kol
Mamish.
Yisrael.
Every single shevet had every other yid in mind, and every other yid felt it. And the state of shtickle galut that we still feel is because we don't feel that like big leaders of big sects are thinking about us. Even though the real leaders, the real leaders, are not just thinking about their own Eder, their own flock. They're thinking about everyone. They're thinking about every single Yid. Like Rav Drukman, Alav Hashem. He was thinking about Klal Yisrael. He thought about every single one. You know, you saw that video going around of Rav Drukman by the Rebbe? Do you see this? So it's only one video. It's in 1991. He went to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe recognized him while he was there before him. And the Rebbe said to him, "You're known for being very, of having takifus, of being very convicted in your ways." Because he was Rav Drukman was a chaver knesset for many years, right? So the Rebbe looked at him and said, "You're known for being very takif, for having a lot of takifus." He's saying, "I want to strengthen you to keep on being takif on what you're takif on." That doesn't mean being an akshan on what you're an akshan on. Is that your inyan is Klal Yisrael, and when you do what you do, it's because you're doing it b'shem Kol Yisrael. Stay strong to your stay ne'eman, stay loyal to your inner convictions, because you're thinking about everyone. Now, only someone that actually thought about every single yid could say such a thing like that, right? Who more than the Rebbe was a better example that we have in this last generation. Like Reb Shlomo said when he gave him a hesped, he said, the thing about the Rebbe is that every Jew knew that the Rebbe is thinking about him. So this is how the mivneh of the word zot, when you say zot, you're basically saying, this is my family. Someone right now is thinking about me. That's what it means. That's what the word zot means. And like Yitzhak Meir reminded us, that's Kedushas Yisrael. Someone else right now is thinking about me. And that's why this language of Zos Chanukah Samizbeach shows up when I repeat again all the Nasim. Because why? I felt that every Nasi thought about me. And I was thinking about every Shevet as well. We're on the this second to bottom paragraph, fourth line from the bottom of it. Ve'ita sham, she'ein ze gadol mizeh. No one was bigger than the other. Ve'al ken nidrash al kol echad kavanos miyuchadas. ואחר כך כולם יחד שכלולים כל אחד מכל י' בייס הקדושס. וכסיב זוס שמורה שהקדושס כל השבטים בכל אחד מפורש. Reb Tzadok says that's why we use the language of Zot when it kind of sums everything up. And now we're ready to go inside and use the Mizbeach. Because of Zos שמורה שהקדושס כל השבטים בכל אחד מפורש שייתכן לשון זוס, והיינו שהחקוק הקדושה בלב וכנ"ל. וביום השמיני קוראים זוס חנוכת המזבח, and this is why we read on the 8th day, this is חנוכת המזבח, שמורה איך שנכלל קדושת כל השבטים בכל שבט ושבט, because this is really what this Indian is about. We're learning how the kedusha of every shevet is included amongst every other shevet. וכיוון שנחקק הקדושה בלב, הרי הוא כמפורש לעין שיוכלו להרוס באצבע ויתוכן לשון זוס. Reb Tzadok is saying here that every Yid, by this moment of Chanukah HaMizbeach, whenever a Nasi came to bring a korban, each Yid in Am Yisrael pointed and said, this is mine. This is mine. This is mine. This is mine. Can you imagine going to every yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael and seeing being in a Beis Medrash and walking around there and saying, wow, this is mine. This is mine. Zos, Zeh Sheli, Zeh Sheli. Walking into every shul saying, Zeh Sheli. V'chevan shenichkak hakadusha balev. And then what happens is that the holiness becomes engraved in the heart. It was so clear. It was so clear, just like by Yaakov Avinu's deathbed, just like in Chanukah HaMizbeach, at the end of Chanukah. At the end of Chanukah, this is what Zos is all about. That it's clear to me we are in this together. This can only be done together. והיינו שבכל אחד מישראל יש קדושת האור תורה שבנר מצוות הקורבנות שכל נשיא ונשיא. And then what do you read right afterwards? ואחר כך, if you noticed in the laning this morning, it's the end of Nassau goes into the beginning of Baal Osa. You think about that? It's a most interesting thing.
Why does it just end in Nassau?
Why? It should have just ended right there in Nassau, at the end of the Nisim, end of the Korbanot. No. It goes into the parsha of Aaron Hakohen lighting the candelabra. ואחר כך קוראים פרשת בעלות חסנרוס, שהוא על תורה אור שמאירה לעולם. Because now we start talking about the Torah that comes. The Torah that comes out of feeling that we're all in this together is a different type of Torah. The Torah that feels like this is for me in my flock is a certain type of Torah. Not everyone will feel like they're invited to that. But the Torah that comes b'shem kol Yisrael is a different type of Torah. That's the Torah that comes from all the Nesiim and all the Shvatim and all the Korbanos together.
Maybe that's why we point to Monday, Thursday, Shabbos, and we say, V'zos HaTorah, Shir Sam Moshe.
Nachon.
We mamish point. Lifnei B'nai
Zos.
Yisrael.
Lifnei B'nai Yisrael, Kedushas
The whole
Yisrael.
entire thing, this is it.
Very good. והיינו שבכל אחד מישראל יש קדושת האור תורה שבנר מצוות הקורבנות של כל נשיא ונשיא. ואחר כך קוראים פרשת בעלות חסנרוס שהוא על תורה אור שמאירה לעולם. Second to bottom line, who was the master of this more than anybody? First it was Yaakov Avinu, but who was able to do this afterwards? Aaron HaKohen. וניתן לאהרון הכהן כמו שנאמר כי שפתי כהן ישמרו דת ותורה יבקשו מפיהו. The people would ask Torah to hear Torah from the Kohen. Why? Because they knew that whatever the Kohen would say, they'd feel that he's thinking about me. Torah yevakshu mipihu. It's so great when you learn from Torah on Kohanim from the Kohen, from Reb Tzadok, right? From Reb Tzadok himself. Reb Tzadok HaKohen. No, it's a very, huh?
And from you.
Next. V'hainu. Alavat. You know what? This pasuk is actually engraved on my uncle's cover. Siftei kohen yishmeru das v'torah yivakshim epiyum.
Wow.
My cousins in Argentina were asking my brother and I, what my father also, what pasuk should we have on the Matzeva? This is the pasuk we chose. Siftei kohen yishmeru das v'torah yivakshim epiyum.
Wow.
V'hainu she'al yedei shehidliku haneros bechol haches yamim, by lighting the candles for 8 days, mitbarerin Yisrael ad hod. Now this is Kabbalah already, but it's important to just say this. What is the midah of Aaron Hakohen? His midah is hod. What does hod mean? Not just glory. Hod is hoda'ah, gratitude. We're refined to the core of what gratitude is all about by the end of Hanukkah. It's days of lehodos ula'ala. By the end of Hanukkah, I could point my finger at something that I could say, I'm thankful for this. Who enables me to feel that I can be sure about what I'm thankful for? Aaron Hakohen. Because when he would tell me Torah, I was so thankful that there's one person in the world, Gewalt, that when they're saying Torah, I know they're thinking about me. This is the midah of Hod. So Reb Tzadok says, the midah of Hod got mamish into our kishkas by the end of Hanukkah. Zochin libchina, what do we reach? The level of ve'amech kulam tzadikim. Ve'nichlalim b'chol kedushas hashvatim. This is what we get, the reward that one receives from having enough guts to go and ask Torah from the Kohen is that you feel part of everyone's feeling special. Bless you. V'zochin lehaor me'akadosh baruch hu, like it says, k'mo shenemar, kei Hashem v'yoyer lanu. Hainu me'or Torah sheba'al peh. V'al zeh Chanukah saneros, shem zeicher leneros beis hamikdash, shem Torah or, v'hu meir la'olam. I can't get too much into this right now, but it's basically what he's saying over here, because this is an edited piece. He built this up before, that's saying that the only thing we have today, this is what we saw by Rav Sasson, the only thing that we have today that's really not reminiscent, but it's literally kimat exactly the same as the Beis HaMikdash is the menorah. No other kli, there's no other vessel, there's no other utensil that we have that we use, unless you guys are hanging around with the kior and the kano, like the way that they did it. I mean, besides the Chaver from Temple Institute. Right. But anyone else, it's not really what became Mekubal B'fi Am Yisrael. So he's saying that the light of the menorah brings us to the light of Torah Sheba'al Peh, obviously, which brings us to the way the world keeps on shining is because of the chidushim of the Torah Sheba'al Peh. And it's in its full form on Hanukkah. That light that brings to the world hitchadshut, that where every person can say, this is my Torah, this is my light, is in its full glory on Zos Chanukah, when the menorah is filled. V'lachen, kornim yom zeh Zos Chanukah. So now, to sum this all up, this day is called Zos Chanukah. This is Chanukah. Shemore shekvar nikbeu v'nechkeku kol hakdushos mikol hashvatim belev Yisrael. Meaning that by now, every shevet, any type of person that's hiding behind any type of wick, or any type of candle, or any type of oil, they're all part of my menorah by now. And I know that I'm not just doing a chesed by making people feel included. I realize that it's the only way that I can really be connected to the Ribono Shleim. It's not like I'm a tzaddik and I open my heart to everybody, look at me. It's that I realize that until I taste the specialness of each yid, of each shevet, I don't really know what Yaakov Avinu is all about, and I don't know what I don't know what Aaron Hakohen is really trying to do to me. Vehu kemefurash la'ayin. And this becomes so clear to my eye. Sheitachen lomar l'shon zos kemare ba'etzba al chanukas ha'or shebelev Yisrael. This is so deep, these last words. It's not that I'm pointing at a menorah and saying, this is what it means to have a full light. It's saying, I can point on the or that's in the heart of my Yiddishkeit, Kedushas Yisrael, and say, it is clear to me that this is who I am and this is what I'm part of, and there is no other way that I can point at anything and at one group of Yidden and say, this is Kedushas Yisrael. No. It's only when all the Shvatim and all the Nisim are all in it together that I can point at it and say, this is what it's all about. Now I have to say, it's either just the Baal Davar emphasizing things that I put up on social media, or it's still a Metzius in this world, that I'll say it like this. When Reb Shlomo died, Michal Shapiro said about Reb Shlomo something so beautiful. He coined him, he gave him a kinoy that I never heard anyone say. And he said about him, I could say a lot of things about him. What he really was a very brave man. Brave. That's the word he used. I never heard anyone use that word in that. Say, sweet, loving, brave. Why brave? Because he knew that there is no other way other than this teaching. Zot omeret, it can't be after the 6 million that it's going to be about a certain derech or one group or one yeshiva or one psak. It won't work like that. It just won't work like that. So we need a lot of omets. We need a lot of to become very, very brave. Rav Kook, of course, embodied this so beautifully. But you have to be brave enough and so confident in your love for Hashem and your love for Yiddishkeit and Yidden to love people that act very different from you. Not agree with them and still love them ad lev hashamayim. This, I think, is Zos Chanukah Samizbeach, Zos Chanukah Satorah, Zeh Keli Vanveo. This is all the Kedusha of Zeh together. I can't say Zeh on anything that's michutz lamachane, michutz to my own machane. I can only really, really, really say Zeh or Zos when it's clear to me that I'm brave enough inside to mamish really love you and know that loving you means that I actually care about myself. That's the only way. It's the only way that it's going to be. So I want to give us a bracha. I want to give us a weird bracha. As much as there's a taiva to feel like I want to follow a certain derech, the moment that it becomes about excluding other drachim, to run as far away as possible at that moment. Now the way to avoid having to go through this nisayon is to not try to find one thing, but it's to be mamish, keep on taking from everyone's Torah. Keep on taking from everyone's Torah. You know what I love about the booklet that you print out, that you get, Otzei Pnei Chassidus, is because that sefer has all the Chassidish Rebbes. It also has all the Rebbes in the Shoshelet of Baba Sali, Abu Chatzera, and then it also has the Chazon Ish and the Chassan Sofer. It has all of them together. So I know this is very, for like a stark Breslover, it's maybe very hard to hear, but even Rabbi Nachman was thinking about every Jew, not only Breslovers. Even though I'm sure they had a special place in his heart, but if he is the tzaddik emes, which he is, he's thinking about everyone. Everyone. Just like the Lubavitcher Rebbe thought about everyone. And Alavai, we should be amongst people that can really point at Am Yisrael and say, Zeh ha'am sheli. Kulo. This is my people, all of them. And b'schut zeh, we'll see the Kohen rekindle the light in the Beis HaMikdash, B'karav Mamish. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim.